How to decrease carbon emission levels. Now more than ever, the Earth's climate is changing at an unbelievable pace. In fact, according to Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, our planet's climate is getting warmer every day, and that's not a good sign. And one of the biggest reasons behind all of this? Carbon emissions. While the whole idea of climate change can be pretty overwhelming, the truth is that the only solution we have to the problem currently is to take small steps that might slow down the process. Which is why in this video we're going to talk about all the ways in which we can decrease carbon emission levels. What are carbon emissions? For those of you who don't know, carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. What this means is that it essentially captures heat from the sun to make sure that the Earth's atmosphere is warm enough for humans to survive. But as we moved into the industrial age, humans started impacting the environment, and factories, businesses, and other commercial facilities had a huge impact on the environment. As a result, these greenhouse gases have now gone out of balance, threatening the very existence of life on Earth. Atmospheric levels of carbon dioxide, the most dangerous and prevalent greenhouse gas, are currently at the highest levels ever recorded. And because of that, we're experiencing rising sea levels, ecosystem changes, food shortages, flooding, droughts, wildfires, and even global pandemics. But where are these carbon emissions actually coming from? While there are both natural and human sources of carbon dioxide, human activity is the main cause of harmful carbon emissions. With industrial activities like cement production, deforestation, along with the excessive burning of fossil fuels like coal, natural gas, and oil, the atmospheric concentration of carbon has reached an all-time high. When this energy is used in factories to run their machines, connect to the internet, heat, and cool buildings, all of this leads to carbon emission. Direct emissions can also be caused by leaks in the industrial process, chemical reactions during the manufacturing process, and the use of petroleum in production. Indirect emissions are caused by energy production off-site, such as emissions created by the power plants from which facilities get their electricity. Reducing carbon emissions. Now that we know what causes carbon emissions, how do we reduce them to make sure that our environment doesn't go completely out of balance? While it's true that emissions from the industrial sector have contributed significantly to the increase in carbon levels, on an individual level, almost all of us have played a part in all of this, which is why it's extremely important for humans to start making small lifestyle changes to protect the planet's environment. The importance of your carbon footprint. The first step is to actually measure your carbon footprint. What this means is that companies and individuals need to take into account all of the activities that might be adding to an increase in carbon emissions on their part. Once this is known, it's easier to figure out alternatives that might help you decrease your carbon footprint through better process management and consumption strategies. There are tons of online carbon footprint calculators that can help you figure out what changes you need to make in your lifestyle to lessen your personal environmental impact. For most individuals, their carbon footprint comes from transportation, housing, and food. So start by making small changes in these areas. For example, if you use your car a lot, maybe try walking, biking, or carpooling to reduce carbon emissions from your vehicle. Actively lessen your energy consumption in the house, turn off lights when you're not using them, and add solar panels to your house if you can conserve energy sustainably. However, it's not possible for all of us to individually decrease carbon emission levels, which is why for industries and big businesses to regulate their own carbon footprint, the idea of a carbon cap is pretty promising. What this means is that a government entity sets a cap on carbon emissions that can be produced by a certain business. In this system, companies are given carbon allowances which they can either then use or trade with other businesses. This cap and trade system has been proven to reduce carbon emissions successfully by setting a limit on the pollution that we create. Carbon capping is pretty big in China, where several cities and provinces have had carbon caps since 2013, and the government is working towards a national program. Another really important step that countries like Austria, Belgium, and Sweden have taken is to phase out their coal-based power plants. While coal has remained a major fuel source since the Industrial Revolution, countries are now beginning to realize how detrimental it actually is to the environment. Coal plants all over the world have been closing at a fast rate because we now have a cheaper and cleaner way to generate power. A global coal phase-out is one of the major ways in which we can reduce carbon emissions, which is why multiple other countries have set coal phase-out deadlines to start removing coal from their national energy mix. In fact, Britain's coal phase-out plan involves supporting the industry for several years to come through millions of pounds in backup power subsidies to be funded via consumer energy bills. Businesses that make a conscious effort to switch to sustainable energy sources, such as wind or solar power instead of coal, can help to reduce their daily CO2 emissions by a huge percentage. And not just that, but billionaires like Bill Gates have also pledged to play their part in reducing carbon emissions to save the environment. In fact, Bill Gates has come up with a fully functional plan to clean up the planet by stripping carbon dioxide from the air and using it to produce carbon-neutral, sustainable, and cleaner fuel that could then power the world's cars, planes, and trucks. Governments all over the world seem to be relying on this carbon capture plant backed by Gates to remove millions of tons of carbon from the environment and using it to generate renewable energy. Known as direct air capture, or DAC, this technology enables scientists to literally suck CO2 out of the air by separating it from other molecules and converting it to solid matter. Carbon Engineering, the company that's working on developing this very technology, has claimed that their current prototype technology can remove 1 million tons of pure CO2 from the air each year, which just might be what we need to save our planet before things start going south. Keeping all of this in mind, it's really important to understand that we must adapt to climate change and start living our lives a little differently. While governments are developing plans to protect their citizens from the harmful effects of climate change, it's also important for us to actively make lifestyle changes to reduce our carbon footprint. Of course, sometimes you can't avoid doing things that contribute to your carbon footprint, but at the same time, you can support projects and initiatives that offset these emissions. Now is the time that we realize the importance of reducing carbon from our environment to make sure that we can avoid the most dangerous consequences of climate change before it's too late.